A brief history of the Great Pagoda. The king's mother, Princess Augusta, 1719–1772, was the mother of King George III. She spent much of her adult life creating the gardens at Kew and employed the architect William Chambers to design buildings for the gardens. Chambers also taught her son architecture. Princess Augusta developed the gardens as a haven for exotic plants and animals. She employed William Chambers to build hothouses for nurturing delicate plants and aviaries for birds. Her aim was to create gardens that were fit for a royal prince. At the end of the project, William Chambers wrote that what was once a desert is now an Eden. The Great Pagoda was the largest of the buildings Princess Augusta commissioned here. The garden buildings celebrated variety in architecture, with Greek and Roman, Northern European, and Eastern styles all represented. The architect William Chambers, 1723–1796, was employed by Princess Augusta to create buildings for the royal gardens at Kew and to teach her son, George, who would later become king. Chambers was the first European architect to go to China. In 1748, he visited the trading port he knew as Canton, modern-day Guangzhou. While he was there, he drew many Chinese gardens and buildings, pagodas. These inspired the Great Pagoda at Kew, which he began in 1761. The Great Pagoda was both praised and criticized when it was completed in 1762, and it was very influential. Chinese-style buildings appeared in royal gardens across Europe based on designs by William Chambers. The dragons. When the pagoda was built in 1761–2, the roofs were adorned with 80 hand-carved and painted dragons. William Chambers described them as having a most dazzling reflection. The dragons were all removed in 1784, following years of bad weather, and the roofs remained bare for 234 years. In 2018, following years of research and development by historic royal palaces, and thanks to the generosity of donors, the dragons have finally been replaced. You get amazing views of London from the Great Pagoda. King's Observatory. William Chambers built the King's Observatory in 1769 for George III so that the king could watch the transit of Venus. It was built just a mile away from here in the Old Deer Park. The transit of Venus is a rare astronomical event in which the planet Venus crosses the Sun, making it visible as a small black dot. Top secret, if you were standing here in 1942, there is a good chance that you would be engulfed in smoke. During the Second World War, the Great Pagoda was used for testing smoke curtain installations. These were walls of smoke released from IO flying aircraft to hide troops and ships from attack. The pagoda was a perfect, secretive testing site. Sections of floor were cut out in every level, and scientists from the Royal Aircraft Establishment fired smoke down through these holes. They then used special cameras to measure how both changes in pressure and the chemical mixture of the smoke affected its density. Smoke curtain installations were released from RAF Boston aircraft by Allied forces on the coast of France during the D-Day landings in 1944, as well as at other coastal operations. King's Farm. George III established a farm at Kew during his reign to help improve the productivity of British farms. He experimented with new breeds of livestock and agricultural methods. The king kept over 100 merino sheep at the farm. They were sheared and their lambs sold in a barn opposite the Great Pagoda.